don't know what we're going to talk about today, but there's a lot because who knows? That was like 24 hours ago stuff. But anyway, actually, why don't you repeat that whole thing about what Frank said? Because this
Okay. So we were talking about the creating changes, making a difference. And so he was saying that if something vibrated this way and you wanted it to vibrate this way, that it had to go through a physiological change in order to change that. And that science has proven that. So I said, well, I feel that science is a series of beliefs that have been proven through creating realities around those beliefs. And that if you believe that it can instantly change, then it can instantly change. And we agreed to disagree on that point. Then we came to, anyone who's ever made a difference in the world sacrificed something. And he, started with Winston Churchill and Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and Begin, and he named off some others. And at that point, I just kind of quit listening, because it's just like he spoke with such conviction and had such evidence to back him up. Mm-hmm. It wasn't going to really matter what I said.
Well, and that's what the mind always says, is if I have evidence, it means it's true, right?
Right. And that's when we got into, well, there really is no right or wrong or good or bad, and he just,
I know you
can't allow that leap right now.
I know you said that that's like your biggest point of agreeing to disagree.
Right.
Well, that's a tough one for many, like it just across the multiverse, even not just people. It's just, but it's a great place to start today, because everything is so, and I've had this conversation with my family, because like my kids, my husband, and I used to be this way too. So I understand it, because I used to be in the same place of, if I have all this evidence, I was a great debater, because I could ding, 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 line things up and connect the dots and everything else. And now I connect the dots in a completely different way that might not be as empirical, right, as some may want it to be or think it needs to be. And that's the challenge with doing energy work and intuitive work and, like consciousness work, because people are like, and we laugh because what? Science is like struggling. They're racing to try to catch up with collective consciousness as it's evolving. Because, look at the whole field of quantum physics, right? That was a whole field that was created to support the consciousness that we're becoming more aware of. And we are able to, we're able to see it in many respects in the physical in ways that we never, because we didn't even know where to look, right? So what I tell people a lot of times is, so people like science is, this is a big topic lately. Science really is so subjective, and people will balk at that.
Right? Oh, right. It's cold hard facts.
Yeah. And it's cold hard facts.
Observed.
Well, so when was it we discovered the atom? When was it that we discovered, dark matter? And we didn't, if somebody would have talked about dark matter and atoms before that we had the technology and consciousness to understand what it was.
Or observe
them. What would we say? Yeah.
Crazy.
You're crazy. Yeah.
Right.
And, look at the things that we have today, the abilities of things. If somebody, say in the, 1800s was time travel to today, right? And just walked in and saw technology and you and E sitting here, this is the Jetsons. When we were kids, we watched the Jetsons and people talked on a video screen and we were like, oh my God, that would be so cool. Blah, 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 the things of the future. And this is every day to us. And so that's like people said, it's evolution of technology, but it's also the evolution of science as we understand things differently and can adapt and create technology to support the understandings. Because all the stuff in the multiverse is there. It's just there for us to remember how to utilize it. That's part of the game, right?
Right.
So when people like get stuck in the science thing, I always remind them of like, well, yeah, that just doesn't fly with me, that it's like, solid and, black and white, because really science is the sense we make out of things we understand as we understand them right now.
Right. Well, and we talked about the energy you send out is received by the universe, amplified, and sent back magnified.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but if you get the picture clear and everything, but you've got worthiness issues surrounding it, or if you've got, I can have that, but I have to struggle to get it, and you send that out, that's what you get back. And so I tried to reiterate that, and he's like, well, I've had the clear vision, and I've sent that out, and I was like, well, but you're telling me that you believe there has to be some kind of sacrifice,
right,
to make that difference. And I can't get him over that hump.
No, it's not for
and
you.
that belief. And it's like,
Not for you to get him over it, that's the thing.
well, I can't. And that's when I get into, that's clearly not my role.
Mm-hmm.
And that my role is to get me over whatever humps I have.
Right. Turn that mirror around. Right.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, because that's the best way to provide that concrete evidence, is to make it different for myself.
Right. And, it's funny because, I have my oldest who, majored in archaeology, right? And I always point that out to her all the time. It's like, oh my God. So what, it wasn't that many years ago where we said, oh, well, the oldest living, civilization we know is this. I'm like, and we keep on like now, because our technology is catching up to what we're evolving to remember are these older civilizations, right? Like Atlantis and Lemuria, blah, 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 but like a whole bunch of them. Suddenly we're finding stuff that's like millions of years old, and that like shows like advanced civilizations here on Earth. And it's like, well, that changes the entire field, doesn't it?
Right.
And the first, and that's the whole thing. The first person that says, oh, I know we've had civilizations way before what we think started, like this last round of evolution, crash and burn, whatever we did, peak and then crash and burn, peak and crash and burn. And it's like, well, now it's time to stop crashing and burning and move forward, right? So you could say that. And those of us in this, the conscious field are going, yeah, okay, yep, but then you have like, well, no, because science says this, and we've, we've only found this. Well, that's right. And now that our technology is changing, like we're finding lost civilizations all over the place that are way older. Things that we thought, like there's that thing in Alaska, the pyramid that was in Alaska that's very similar apparently to Giza, that everybody always thought was a mountain, but had so much, things growing on it, they didn't realize it was actually a structure underneath. And there's a woman in archaeology, which I had said to my daughter, maybe you should seek her out to maybe get an internship with her, because that would be freaking awesome. That she created a software to overlay with the satellite software that looks at our planet and is able to discern by certain shades, literally she can, it tells what certain kinds of clay, just by the reflection of this, whatever, certain kinds of clay, certain kinds of dirt, which, connect to certain ages and years and blah, blah, blah. And basically in the satellite imagery, they can overlay the software, which gives them a completely different holograph of the planet. And she has found something like a half a dozen lost civilizations just by using this software from satellite, because we are catching up to that. And I'm like, oh my God, what a great thing. That would be so amazing to work with, to be able to look at these maps and be like, oh, look, there's something here. Cause look at this, like when we overlay this and we overlay this, and you can start seeing the depth, and then there's something here. And how easy is that, instead of years and years of manual excavation that we've done up to now?
Right.
Right? To just say, oh, here it is. Here's exactly the, the latitude and longitude. Let's go dig, right? That starts you out like 50.
Well, and get the money to go dig.
Yeah. And 50 steps ahead of where we've been, maybe even 100 steps ahead of where we've been. And so look at that leap we've taken. And that's a science, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I laugh about. I mean, because it's like, I understand, because as we collectively have really idealized the mind, right? The ego, the separation-based perception, then we have at some point created that belief that that must be the more important thing, or the more legitimate thing, right? Makes the ego happy to say, I'm legitimized because I have this physical proof. But when we go beyond that to say that anything in the physical is only a reflection of what's in the non-physical, that pulls out everything to a matter of remembrance, right?
Well, and then you add the complexity in that we talked about last week, about how everything that's in the physical is just something that we have taken of ourselves and pushed out of us.
Yeah. Oh, I think anybody who's watching, they might have missed the conversation, because that was after Monday.
Last week. Right.
It was last week. Oh, it's so funny, because we almost have to do these like almost every day right now, because things are changing so dramatically and so quickly. Yeah. So I think it was that Wednesday that we were talking about that things, especially that we irritate or notice, have friction with, are things that we, push outside, we push outside of us to reflect it back to us.
Actually, I think it was Thursday.
Was it? It feels like a month ago.
Yeah, I think it was Thursday. It was during a call.
Yeah. Was it? Okay. So it doesn't matter. Sometime it was after our call, this thing last week. So
right.
Yeah, but it's so when we start looking at that, it's like, well, really, then everything. What if we said, what if we really looked at the fact that everything is a part of our physical state, like, a part of our non-physical state. Everything in our physical state is a part of our non-physical state. Same thing as our physical body, right? Because it's like, the people talk about the mind over body. It's really the spirit over body, the consciousness over body, to be able to shift. And I've seen that so many ways over the last 7 years, almost 8 years that I've done that. Oh. Yeah, almost 8 years that I've done this as a profession, to see like when we really hit on the non-physical thing that is the physical, that causes the physical representation, how it just changes like that. Instantaneous, what we call instantaneous healings, right?
Right.
So easily and so quickly, without suffering, right? So easily and so quickly that it just isn't there. And then, I mean, like literally we forget about it because it's not in our reality anymore.
Exactly. And it's almost like when you try to reach those thoughts again, or those feelings or emotions and the whole thing, it's like trying to catch smoke.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, I've had people say, well, what was this thing that you worked on? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Obviously I don't have it anymore because
right.
It's not coming to me. So, and then this morning, interestingly enough, I don't know if you saw the post by
Emma.
Yeah, that I put a comment in about the whole collective to the individual thing.
I was getting ready to read your response when we started. So
yeah, I mean, and that's an interesting, and it's funny because that's what this is about for us, that we do every week, that we've been doing now for what, like 3.5 years, something like that.
I don't know.
Something like that. So, and we just started recording them this year because we had a lot of people realize, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. We want to hear what you guys are talking about, because I know it's going to have a relation to me. And I can't tell you how many texts and PMs I get, or in conversation, people saying to me, I swear you guys are just talking to me, because like I don't watch it every week, but I watch it this week. And of course it was just talking to me, and
Right.
and so that's why we call it the collective share, because everything we're talking about here is something that's, it's just this concentric consciousness is how I see it. So
Well, if you also think about how everything that we discuss here are just things that we've pushed out of ourselves to mirror back to, oh, what's this?
yeah.
What do I need to pay attention to?
Yeah. So, and as a collective, like, so, I don't think of, say, us as individuals being any more or less a piece of a collective than our 2 to 3 trillion cells are as a part of our bodies.
Right.
That's a collective consciousness too.
Right.
The cells making the organs, that's a collective consciousness. The organs making up the body, that's a collective consciousness. So it's like, and then we get bigger and bigger and bigger. So when we look at it from that perspective, right, and say it's a concentric consciousness, then of course what's going on in the big picture is going to reflect down in some way, shape, or form to every piece of that consciousness and its function within it, right? And it's meaning we created our individuality and the pieces and everything else to explore the separation. It sort of gets mind-blowing when you start getting into the thought of it, but it's like, but then obviously what we go through individually is going to reflect what's going on at the collective, but it's just going to be individualized and customized to our particular, say, purpose or journey or filter because of our experience and our existence in creation and separation.
Right.
So that's why I always tell people, like, part of the thing right now is to come to these things or to watch these kind of things or to talk to other people who are in this place of consciousness, as together, right? No matter what the practice is, to recognize that we're all doing the same thing. We're all going the same place. It's just a matter of how we're getting there. And in doing that, we're all experiencing the same thing, just in different forms.
Right. Right.
So, how did that connect? That had to connect somewhere, because there was something that I wanted to bring up, but then you said something that sparked it, and I don't remember how that connected it. So we have the relative science thing.
Well, we were talking about what we came upon last week of things.
Right, the externalization. Right. So the bigger picture things, which we have the questions about from people all the time, like the collective, like, say, mass shootings or earthquakes or whatever, we're also part of a mass consciousness that creates this macrocosm that we call Earth, this dimension, or this, actually, it's not just this dimension, this collection of dimensions within this space. And so what we are doing as part of what I call the Project Earth thing, right, is the evolution of it is what we're experiencing at the Earth level, at different collectives within its level, and then individually, which is why I think if we look back on, oh, that's interesting. The sun just went into some space where now you have all of these glittery rays around you.
Yeah, the sun did just come out, and Pequeña's trying to eat, so.
Well, that's good.
Wow. She's standing next to the dish. I hope she doesn't fall.
So part of that is getting to the place of what? Recognizing, what's the theme to talk about on this? Recognizing that, that we push everything out. Last week we talked about that alignment thing, right? Didn't we do that on this call last week?
Yeah, simple alignment, I think, was last week.
Oh,
what I keep coming up with is something that I did, is that the recognition of that I've made everything, or that I've created everything as something external of myself, to give me an opportunity to be an observation of it. But then flip it around and welcome it back home
Yes.
and
Yeah.
reintegrate it.
Yeah. Which,
Oh my God, she's actually eating.
yay.
4 days.
So,
Now I hope she can just keep it down.
so we, obviously we're on the right track then.
Obviously.
So
Yeah, I really like this effect I have.
I know, I wonder if we could, bag that as a filter. So it's, yeah, and funny is that happened right as right before she started to eat.
Yeah, I mean, she's in the chair opposite me and she just got up.
Nice.
She's pretty wobbly, but.
So yeah, I mean, and we've talked about that, our pets, our spouses, our kids, our friends, our family. And it's funny because I just came back from a weekend with my family that I haven't seen in like 4 years, and a lot's gone on in 4 years. But what was so interesting was the creation that I made of it will be easy, right? And I went to the place where I was, I did that with everybody in my family. That,
Right.
Thank you for, holding on to that mirror reflection for me, any place where there's friction, and to be like, and you don't have to hold that role anymore. And, thank you with love. And by the way, I can take that back. And now I allow it and embrace it within myself.
Now she's drinking out of my water glass.
Mm.
But she's drinking.
That's good. Oh, now you just got really clear. Now the sun thing went away. That's funny. Oh, no,
I guess it moved on.
yeah. So, like I went and did that before I went, and it was such a smooth, easy, loving, fun weekend. It was great. And anytime something came up, so there's like one family member who is mad at me for something that I'm not even quite sure why. So, and they ignored me all weekend, which was fine because there was no friction at all. Like I put it out there energetically. I kept, like whenever we were in the presence of each other, I would like look up to make eye contact, and they purposely would turn away and avoid, even looking at me or walking out. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that because in all honesty, there was no friction. There was no fighting. There was no
Sniping. Yeah.
Sniping. It just was, okay, well, then that's fine. And I would just, reach out to them with love and just be like, I honor your journey as I honor my own because it's a reflection. So, and then I was like, is it, then of course I would question things like, so what is that? Is that a part of me that I don't need to have any kind of reflection back from? Is it just,
or that it's a part of me that's not ready to reintegrate?
Maybe. Or the energy of that reflection, maybe that's what's done that I don't even need to see anymore. So there's just nothing. Because like I said, there was no action. It just was, okay, fine. We can be in the same space and not even have to acknowledge each other. That's okay.
That feels like what it is that it's the energetic representation of something that's just not needed anymore.
Yeah.
That feels really good.
And it was. And what was really sort of freeing about it was it didn't cause any stress or duress, or I wasn't worried about it. I just simply reached out to that individual or those two individuals and like just embraced them with love and was like, you know what? I honor your journey and I honor my own.
Right. And gratitude for what you've chosen to represent for me.
And thank you. Thank you for completing that so that we don't even have to have that friction anymore. So, and at some point, it'll probably, that at some point it might change and it might not. And that's the way for us to go through and looking at everything in our realities, because then, wow, it takes away any basis for being angry with anybody.
Right. So it removes that that distraction,
Yes.
because that's all it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's.
And it felt great. I haven't had such a good time with so many family members for like, I don't know how long.
Right.
I don't probably ever, honestly, like that there was nothing. There was no friction. There was no irritation. It was fun. It was love-based. Um, Even a cousin that I haven't seen for like 27 years that I didn't even know was going to be there. I was so excited to see him because he is all over the world. Like we've just never been, like not been in the same place at the same time for a long time. And I was so excited to see him. And we had such a great time, and we connected at the end. We made sure we had each other's cell phone numbers, and I was really bummed to know that he's living right outside of San Francisco, because when we were there earlier this summer I could have gone to see him.
No kidding.
Yeah. And really fun. And so, well, yeah, because I said, it's sad to think that, and he's a first cousin, so he's like, it's like the closer part of the family. I'm like, it's so weird to think that I've been with my husband for 26 years and he's never met this cousin, because it was like a year after the last time I saw him. I'm like, that's so weird. But that was great to reconnect, and it was great to see. And it was such an observation within myself to be like, wow, look at what I was able to do before I even came here, right, for my own experience.
Right.
And I was like, this is the representation of what we can do with everything in our life. There's no need for that anymore, because the more we're conscious of it, the more we're able to incorporate it back into ourselves, right? And embrace it with love and say, thank you. You don't need to be that role for me anymore. So you can be aligned with your, more aligned with your full, existence. I'm more now aligned with mine, right? To go back to what we talked about last week of that full multiversal holographic alignment.
Right.
And the more we do that, the more, wow, so expansive. Like, it was really nice to come home and think, there is nothing negative that I could just say about this weekend. It was great.
That's awesome.
Especially when you spend it with a very large extent. I mean, even yesterday, because the wedding was Saturday, and then yesterday there was a barbecue at my sister's house, and I mean, I don't know how many people came and went. We were there from about 1:00 to about 12:30 to like 5:30, right? And it was just awesome to be able to talk to everybody. I mean, it was just so easy. And even the non-interaction with those two people was so easy, because we just chose to be where we were, and it didn't need to be like, oh, I don't want to be in the same room, because we were plenty of times in the same room.
Right.
It was such a unique experience. Actually, I was like, this is really sort of cool in a conscious way, to be able to do that, even if you're in different parts of your journey and you don't see things in the same place or the same way. You can still coexist in a place of neutrality,
Right.
So we did a lot of work last week, obviously.
We did. And it's something else that occurred to me along those lines. I know that in the share Friday night, we talked about how when I went into the bank,
yes.
How that was the externalization and money and that I had pushed out of me, and chose to make that separate. And then in further thoughts about the emotions that I felt when I was at the bank, and it was, a credit union and a bank, was the authority figure, and how I had taken my authority and pushed it outside of me. And once I saw that realization, it was just like,
yes,
oh, that's got to be different now. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's actually, I don't think you said the authority figure thing. You were talking about
No, because it didn't happen till Saturday when I was because I still felt some kind of charge associated with that whole experience at the bank.
And you know what? that ties into everybody looking outside of them for the answer, right?
Right.
Or for somebody else to give them the answer, right? Because they,
Well, we've pushed it outside of ourselves.
oh, that's powerful. I think that's really what we focus on today.
Right.
Because that goes back to, what do we consider authority figures, right? That's like your husband saying he has all these, facts and empirical evidence and whatever.
Right.
And so, and it's the mind saying, so if the mind says what makes it more legit is if I have other people say, because that's really what we're saying science and empirical evidence is if other people say it's true and a number of people all say it's true, then it must be true.
Right. It's like, what is the Chinese proverb? What's a lie told 20 times?
The
The
truth.
truth.
Yeah. That's it. And that's going to the authority, that goes right to the authority figure. That ties it all together, because if we have said in separation, I must push authority and well, authority would be what? Remembrance and power and clarity and purpose and
Guidance.
guidance, right? And we've pushed it outside of us to be represented by all these other things, science, right? And research and authority figures of all kinds. Religion, right?
Wow.
Oh wow, this is huge. Then we can now say, like, okay, well, look at that. We completed this lesson so that we can finally represent, like, we can finally consciously remember what that is. And we can resolve it and complete it and thank it for everything that it's shown us. And now been able to reincorporate that into ourselves with love. Oh, that feels so tremendous.
Really does. It's the, they used to say you can't ever go home again.
Yep.
We were trying to go the wrong home.
Outside of us.
This is the home that we've been seeking and missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh God, I just feel like some, like, all this just stuff just started pouring away, like, or not pouring away, just resolving and just wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Expanding. All right. So let's do all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go out to that authority figure and do that resolution completion. The externalized authority figure. Oh, for its job, for what it's done. Oh God, that feels so good. Allow it to be reincorporated within us, and so that there is no need for externalization of it anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome. Okay. All right. Okay. You ready?
I am.
Okay. Okay, that was another one where I could have stayed there
Oh my gosh, that was.
forever. I am choosing to stay there forever. Oh my God, that was so awesome. I can't even put words to that. Wow.
One of the very first things that came to me when I was out there was the um, externalization of worthiness that we've given that worthiness authority outside of us,
Yeah.
and how welcoming that back home. Oh my God.
Well,
Keys to the kingdom.
I know. Well, you know what I saw? This is really cool. It was like, so first I was seeing like things sort of flipping through like all these different faces, all these different representations. And then it was just like, then all of a sudden, I guess it's because I've been in an airport a lot lately. All of a sudden it was like this big etheric airport kind of thing, right? So we're all like, there are all these individual representations coming into the central like plaza, right? And everybody had to go through security or screening to make sure that all your shit was gone. Or whatever, or a certain amount of it. And then we all like got into the center, and then there was just this big blast of amazing energy. I mean, I don't want to call it light. It was just beyond that. It was just so huge. And we all just sort of melted into that one consciousness. And it was like, oh my God, the bliss from that.
Yeah, I mean, both my dogs got up and moved closer to me during the whole thing, and my cat's right here next to me.
Oh, that was incredible. That was just, I can still feel it.
Oh yeah.
Woo! That was
Yeah,
rush.
no kidding. No kidding. That was just quite timely.
Yes. Oh, wow.
I definitely will have to do some more of that today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking is, okay, when in my day am I going to be able to put in like at least an hour to sit in that? I'm just going to sit in that all day no matter what I do.
Right, right.
Actually, I'm going to do that all week. I did see, interesting, that once that happened, I saw our journey in Peru, which is coming up this weekend. So,
Right. Well, I saw it. You know how you see things almost like a wave spread out, but what this looked like was, you know how when you light a piece of paper and it just kind of smolders and burns and you just see the edge and it just grows?
yeah.
That's what I saw, but it wasn't a destructive spreading like you think of burning
Yeah.
and it chars. It was like it was that spreading and radiating out of that acceptance back in to the wholeness. Almost like I hate to use the word purification because that's got such judgment attached to it, but that's what it felt like.
Well, yeah. Well, that's sort of like that whole thing I'm talking about, like in the airport or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah, going through security and making sure you got everything out of your pockets.
Yeah, and then it just sort of melted everybody. We all into that just bliss, and that's that ripple. Like, so it's internal as well as external, and uh well, yeah. So I saw us like going into Peru, and I know we just realized last week, like in a big dumb moment, that there's another one of these crystal pyramids that we had seen in Shasta there, and I saw us going up there, and it was like we just did that whole thing like we did in Shasta, where we put our hands on it energetically, and that's when I saw this big, huge, like it was like an atomic explosion, but it was energy. It was amazing, and I was like, "Yep, I'm ready." I'm there.
Yeah. Well, this certainly paved the way for that, didn't it?
Yes, it sure did. Well, y'all can sit with that because that was beautiful, and I'm hoping you're continuing
Oh
on.
yeah.
You're being in alignment because it was just that's what this is all about. So, Awesome. Well, we might or might not do next week, depending on where we are. So it'll be the week after, probably. All
Yeah.
right. Have a good one, everybody. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.